Hey, hey, y'all. I didn't even realize anybody was on. I'm over here in my own little world. How are you guys doing today? StreamYard is not my friend today. It's doing some weird stuff. Okay, maybe it wasn't there, my connection. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, I'm
How are
trying
you?
something different. I'm in the car, so I'm that committed to making sure
Listen,
I'm in this. So if
this
I
is
pop out, just give me time to come back, okay?
this is gonna happen. It's been just talked about conversation all week long, and I just needed to get you guys on here so we can really just update everybody on what they missed, and we have some conversations that need to be had. It's I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but we got some special invited guests that's going to come on around 8:30. So if you guys are not on the scene, and if you wasn't at RAFLive, you really won't understand the raft of what might occur at 8:30, because it might get a little serious. So hello to everyone that's on here. Hey, Lillian, Melinda, hello, Bibi, hello, Tamara, Deborah, hello. Michelle, Bibi
Hello,
said hey.
hello, hello.
Yes, you guys, go ahead and do me a favor and share this stream with your friends, your family on your Facebook. Michelle, are you gonna stream?
I'm not gonna be able to stream because I'm literally on my laptop in my car on my hotspot because it's that serious. Like I was not gonna miss. I'm still chaperoning the date.
Yeah, I know.
Another time, another stream, right?
Listen, Agent, what you doing? She back in the behind the scenes. Priscilla was on earlier. I guess her connection went bad. She jumped off. Let's see what she said. She's sending me a private chat. Ava runs that house. When I say, let me, let
Basically,
me let me get her out.
basically.
Put her backstage for now. There's an option to kick from the studio. I don't want to kick her from the studio. Just move.
Hey Tam.
What's everybody
Hey,
talking about in the comments? Let's see. Who is in the
hey
comments? What's up,
everybody.
guys? Throw it away. Who is in the comments? How many people in the comments came to the conference? Let's see who is going to understand what's going on. Who's gonna get it?
Listen.
I'm still.
You know that saying, Blair, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
If you know,
Listen,
you know.
when I tell you I'm singing a different tune now than I was before because your girl was stressed out.
Yes, yes.
And when I tell you it was real, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I just, every time I'm on Facebook or Instagram, I see recaps, and it just takes me back to a moment because there were so many moments. And I really just want to share some of the tea that happened, some of the transformations. I see a lot of people in the comments that were there. And I want you guys to make sure you're chiming in, because the people that were not there, they don't even understand
Mm-mm.
the level of greatness that they missed. They don't
Yes,
even get it.
absolutely.
I don't even think they're ready. So I'm going to do something a little differently while we're waiting for the rest of the team to join us. I don't know who's going to pop in today, to be honest. I really don't. But I want you guys to think about something that you consider to be a win for today, something that you are proud of today. And I want you to drop it in the comments. Like, what are your wins for today? What is something that has happened that you are most proud of? Did you wake up on time? Did you eat right all day? Did you practice self-care? Was there a time you refrained from cussing somebody out because they kept trying you? That is a win. So I want you to just reflect on your day today and drop in the chat your wins, because I want to see what you guys are doing. So drop your wins in the chat and let's see what you had going on while we're waiting for everybody else to join us. Michelle, what was your win today?
Oh wow. My win today was surviving a day back at work after doing and being a part of probably the dopest women's conference I've ever been a part of. And
Yes.
right after driving to South Florida, doing my business, going to the beach, coming right back, and then showing up for work. So the fact that I showed up today and kind of showed out, like, hey, I'm proud of me.
That is such a win. That kudos to you. You should be like dusting your shoulders off because every single day you guys should look at the wins. What I want us to understand is that we need to give ourselves some grace. We're so
Yeah.
hard on ourselves and we don't celebrate the things that we do. We're just on to the next. And that's all of us, including me. We don't celebrate our wins. We don't take time to just show gratitude for the things that we are doing right. We're always focusing on the things that's not going right. And I want you guys, first of all, since I have her in the chat, I don't know how long she's going to be in here, but First Lady Phelps is in the chat. I need for you guys to know, like I need for you to show her some love because when I tell you my friend, the provoker, is a powerhouse, she walks in the room and the movement of God automatically takes over the atmosphere.
Yes,
So if you
yes.
guys would do me a favor and show Lady Phelps some love in the chat. I know she's busy, so I don't know how long she's going to be here, but I just want to give her flowers right now because what she doesn't understand is that I'm talking to God and I'm asking him to have her there every single year.
Yes.
I need for her to be in the building every single, whatever I'm a part of, it's imperative that I have her attached to that. She just don't understand how much I respect and love her and how much I need everyone else to get some of what I already know exists.
Yes.
So you guys show her some love. Show her some love for me. She is in the chat. If you guys are not following her, if you have not attended her church, she has 5 of them. She has 5. If you are not following her, go and follow her now on Instagram, on Facebook, Lorana Phelps. Go to her church. You will not be disappointed. You will not be disappointed. Lady Phelps, they're giving you so much love in the chat, and I'm so excited because you deserve your flowers right now. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All
And
right.
Blair, she shouted you out because she said you motivated her, you inspired her, and she went walking today. That is so deep. So every coach needs a coach, and every inspirational leader needs an inspiration. So that's a reciprocal relationship. You talked about being an asset, Blair. Your value added in the same way that she is to you, you are to her, and I love to see it.
You know what? It takes a village because I appreciate that and I receive that. And that's what a community is all about. You have to be in the place with the right people. It's important to know who you are around. It's important to have good people in place that's going to continuously push you to the next level because you can't level up by yourself all the time. It's impossible to level up. Michelle, I need help with these comments because they are going off in the comments. Let's see. Let's see. Um, who do we have here? Trap stars is in the building. Hey, Melinda. All right, Melinda's win is she writing in my book, having a conversation with God. What y'all talking about, Melinda?
Listen, Melinda and I talked about the importance of writing down those prayers and recognizing those blessings. So she committed when we walked away from each other on Sunday that she was going to get a prayer journal. And she did. And she shared that as soon as she got back that she started writing in her prayer journal. So proud of you, Melinda.
Yes, Melinda. So Janelle says she rode her bike today for 45 minutes. We got some people up here breaking physical health, and I love it. Lady Lorana, she went walking. That's a win. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So congratulations on that. Tam worked out twice. I mean, they are getting it in, Michelle.
Yes, they are.
They are getting it in. So Tam worked out twice and ate clean. I love it. I love it. Jolisa, she did some self-reflection and time with herself. Jolisa and I had a very good conversation today, and I'm so excited for the direction that she's taking her life. And I can't wait for you guys to see what she has. All right. Yeah. Taka shouted out Fred in the building. Hey, Fred. Hey, Taka. Taka's just waking up. So shout out to you for waking up. Let me tell y'all something about Taka. I literally hit her up like on Thursday and said, Taka, I need you to be there. She was like, girl, what is it? You know, I'm down. I was like, let me send you the information. She looked at it. She was like, I'm going to make it happen. I am going to make it happen. She flew out of town and was in the building, no questions asked. Those are the type of people you need in your life. All you have to do is say, I need you to be there. And they say, I'm showing up. I'm showing up. I love that, Taka. So shout out to you. You are so much appreciated. Thank you for pulling up from out of town, jet lagged and all, coming in to support and giving us, hey, you gave us something I wasn't ready for. You was able to drop gems on us. So we're going to talk about you being a part of the conference next year because you have that fire as well. So shout out to you. Vivi said her win was not allowing her manager to persuade her in taking on a project he was responsible for. How many? Let's talk about boundaries. Y'all give Vivi some love for setting some strong boundaries because they will do what you allow them to do. And it's attractive for them to see you taking on more work than that's in your job description. So good job for taking care of you. Taka says she took her nap because her mental health matters all day, every day. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, Carl. Shout out to Carl, our trap star that's in the building. He is my number one motivator, Carl. So shout out to you for always being so supportive. They're continuously to give Lady Phelps love. I love it so much. I love you too, Lady Phelps. Yes, that is so good. That is so good. They said they didn't want you to leave. Every year I told Blair to get you on the schedule. I know that's right. I know that's right. All right, all right. All right, we had a lot of comments, but I just want to get into the tea. While I have you here one-on-one, Michelle, I want you to talk about, so for those that were not aware, which you should be, because that's all was on our social media pages for the last 2 weeks. We hosted our second annual RAFLive conference here in Atlanta, Georgia. 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of nothing but pure transformation, community, encouragement, spiritual, mental, physical, all the wellness that you want to get. And what was the most difficult part for me was showing people that like this is where you need to be. Convincing people that no, this is not Beyonce, it's not a concert. No, this is not something that is going to, you know, it's not entertainment, but it's entertainment in a different way. Getting people to just say, trust me, like this will change your life. Something about this will touch you in a different type of way. That's the hardest part. So just talk to me about your journey or a time when you felt like you were not ready to take that next step and what taking that next steps look like to you now. And are you happy that you did it? Like what, just talk to me about that journey if you've ever experienced that.
Oh, you know, for sure I've experienced that. When you first started the 8-Figure Body program, I wasn't ready. And I talked about how, you know, you were asking me the different questions like what my why was going to be and things of that nature. And my why was about everybody else except for me. And that's how you were like, I don't think you're ready because you haven't made this about you yet. So I know what it feels like to see and be close to or know that you need to make change in your life, but be fearful of what that change looks like. I've been there. Especially when it came to my health, because I felt like I couldn't do it. Like I literally felt like there's no way I could be healthy. There's no way I could lose weight. You know how you tell yourself, I've done everything I can do and nothing has worked. So why would this work? So you basically talk yourself out of your greatness. You keep yourself from being great because you've sold yourself on not being great because that's easy. And
Right.
so starting out in that journey with even trying to get into it with you, I was like, I'm not, you were like, I don't think you're ready. But at the same time, you wouldn't allow me to not be ready. You were like, okay, what are we going to do or how we're going to change this? Because this isn't you and you're not showing up for yourself. And you started to ask me questions I wasn't ready for. Like, when did you start doubting yourself? And I was like, who are you talking to?
Mhm.
Like, who are you talking to? But you would ask me questions that really made me think about how I felt about myself, like what I thought about me. And you asked me a question that, because I kept making it about the girls, and you paused and you were like, Michelle, if you truly care about the girls, like I know you say you care about the girls, why aren't you doing everything in your power to ensure that you're going to be here for the girls? And so it was a very, not harsh as in angry or mean, but a very direct, you got to stop talking this talk and saying what everybody else needs to do to fix their life, and you need to do it for yourself. So it was that moment. But from the beginning, I was like, I don't think I could do this. And then when I got introduced to the group and I started seeing that everybody was kind of in the same space that I wasn't walking into a group full of bodybuilders or figure models or people who have already figured out this whole health journey, but I was walking to a group of people who were a lot like me and learning how to do these different things. That's what shifted everything. That's what changed everything. So yes, I've been there. I'm still there sometimes. And you helped me see that I don't have to live there, that's just a stopping place. That's not a permanent destination. That's a rest stop.
Absolutely. That was very well said. Thank you for expressing that. So I want to take some time because as we are going through this live today, guys, you will see guests popping in and out. Like these are people that were there in the flesh that got a taste of what RAF Live 2023 was all about, right? We had a very, very high energetic men's panel that sparked a lot of controversy in the best way possible. The best way possible. So what I did, I was like, you know what? This is, we need more of this. So the whole goal of it was to basically get women, us. How many people in the chat can say that we as women, we don't listen? How many people believe we don't listen? I don't need the men to answer. Men, we're not talking to you guys, but how many people believe that women, we don't always listen? We kind of talk too much a little bit, and maybe we feel like we want to run things. And do y'all believe that? So some of these things potentially can cause a guy to shut down because they just don't have time for it, right? So we created a men's panel that allowed us to understand why they are the way they are, why they shut down. And it's not always us, because some people have dealt with things in their childhood. Some people were raised to basically say, suck it up, and, men are not supposed to cry. This creates a space that we as women don't want to see in our men, because like I said, I had I've had too many people to commit suicide because they did not get that opportunity or whatever reason. You always feel like, what could I have done? What could I have done? So we want to create a platform now that helps us do something about it. So I want to introduce some of my men that were in full effect to the scene. And first and foremost, the first one that came on was Kareem. Kareem, welcome to the Trap House, Trap Talk. So this was your first time on a men's panel, and I know you and I had conversation, and I asked you to do this, and I was like, Reem, listen, because you and I, we talk all the time. We talk all the time, and it's easier to have one-on-one conversation. But when you get in the midst of a room where there's nothing but women, and now you have to really have a voice, how did that feel for you?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
It was very uncomfortable. I wasn't expecting to look up and just see all the stares of the women and try to see what kind of reaction they would get off So I was
Is
even
are
talk
you
about just a month.
you guys hearing that on your end?
Uh,
You're breaking up
say
a little.
what?
You're breaking up.
Hold on, let me see something.
All right, so while he's getting it together, I see two more of our guys that joined us. Let me see. Mic check, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was very uncomfortable, because I mean, the whole topic itself is even difficult dealing it with an individual. So to be up on the panel and having to say the things that we have said and did say up there, it was very uncomfortable. And as you can see, the heat came behind it because it
Yeah,
triggered. I mean, it triggered a lot of people in the audience because they either dealt with somebody that have done what we were saying up there, and it just triggers something. That's why you get all the and the and all that stuff. But we just expressing, like, I don't know nobody. Well, I knew some of them in the audience, but I didn't know all of them. But you could just tell, like, they just automatically judge who was saying what they were saying because of something might have triggered, because they probably dealt with something like that with somebody they have before, or either still dealing with it now.
absolutely. So that's exactly what I thought would happen. You know, that's why I ended up having to step up and say, hey, this is the reason why we're doing that, because it's for some reason when men start telling us what their issues are, we all of a sudden just go into defense mode and go back and forth, right? We do that without even consciously thinking about it, as if it's some type of debate. So my whole goal was to bring them on for us for me to see if they would listen, and thank God for Mr. Keith L. Brown that was able to just kind of like moderate the room, because outside of that, we probably would have been on the shade room. So real talk. So we have Edward here, and Keith, I'm gonna let you speak in just a minute because I know you have a lot to say. GWOD.
Good.
Job, good job, good job.
Good job.
Oh, Job, good job.
Right. So I know he has a lot to say, but I want to bring on Edward, which is our mental health therapist, and tell me from a professional perspective, what did you witness, and were you surprised by that?
I witnessed what I witnessed in the individual session. It's just in a larger space. I did kind of expect the reactions that we got. One thing I do understand is you have to when you're giving people information, uh it's hard sometimes not to offend when giving information, because sometimes they just go hand in hand, and when people are offended, then they miss the totality of all the information because they're stuck on where they got offended at. So it's one of those things where you have to really kind of walk a fine line to give the information and try not to offend, because you don't want them to miss something. You don't want them to miss anything. So, when somebody's telling me something, if I get mad, I don't hear nothing else you saying. So it's really a fine line you have to kind of walk. So I did kind of expect it from like Kareem said, people get triggered and they're stuck right there, and they want to tear our heads off, but they want to at least respond to what we're saying. And unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to let the ladies say what they had to say, so we can then respond again. I think that's going to be key going forward.
Absolutely. So I want to put you in the hot seat and ask you a question, because you are the mental health therapist and you are married. Do you have that issue in your household?
Yeah, I mean, of course. Because when I come home, I'm not a mental health therapist. Don't I'm just Ed. So if we're having a disagreement, and I'm trying to get a point across, it just depends on where we are in that moment. Sometimes we agree to disagree. Sometimes we can come to an understanding. We're human just like anybody else. It's easier to help other people than it is to help yourself. I have learned that over the years.
Right.
I can shine in a room with other people who aren't related to me and help them out, help parents with their kids. But in my own house, you think I was a sixth grade dropout sometimes. I don't know what's going on.
Cool. And I want to get to Keith, and definitely Red just joined, because that's Robert, for you guys that are not aware, because he went into the Lions Den and he went in there hard. He made a statement, and I want Keith to speak on this because he was up there, and his statement was the one that turned the room upside down. And it was all because of perception. It was all because of perception. So, Keith, what did you take out of that, and how hard was it to navigate that particular situation?
COODJOB. Good job. Good job. COODJOB. Good job. Good job. Hey, first of all, what's up, family?
What up? What up, man?
Hey, I had to start. First of all, determined to Blair, destined to Blair, dynamic to Blair. Thank you for providing that space for my brothers. For me, it was deep. Overall, it was deep. But I want to start with Brother Red, because Brother Red, let me just say this. The women, it's unfortunate because those women in there don't know the great father that Brother Red is. There's a post where Red had his children, his son and his daughter, and I think they were about to go play soccer or whatever. But his daughter was saluting his son or vice versa, and it was just so much love amongst his son and his daughter. And I know that Red is a great father, but unfortunately, there were women in that session who defined Red by a couple of comments. That's so unfortunate. And here's the thing. I remember my grandfather said, when, this is from Raising in the Sun, he said, when you measure somebody, measure them whole. You can't measure people in sound bites. Okay. And I thought it was very unfortunate that well-meaning women then were ready to be on the attack because my brother was being transparent and my brother was being honest. And I think that happened with us. And then even Brother Kareem, there was such a powerful moment when Brother Kareem was talking about what he was learning from the other brothers. And we were talking about how we love each other and how we were sharing with each other. And that didn't really elicit the same response that some other content elicited. That was a moment where those women should have been on their feet when they saw Black men being vulnerable with each other. But that didn't happen. See, that didn't happen. And then Empowered Edward talked about the fact that, yes, we can be triggered, but we know how to control that in the workplace. You triggered in the workplace too. Your supervisor might say something that you don't like and you triggered, but somehow you're able to hold that anger in. And so what I saw, and listen, these women were phenomenal. The women you have on here tonight, they are phenomenal. But what I saw was what I tell my own queen. I said, it's called what I call selective anger. It's selective anger. Like Will Smith had selective anger with Chris Rock. Because if The Rock had said that to Jada, I doubt Will Smith would have bum rushed the stage. So he had what I call selective anger. So yes, I know there's trauma and I know there are triggers, but even with that, in certain situations, you know how to conduct yourself. But what I saw was, the Blair, you gave an opportunity for Black men to express themselves, and every Black man on the panel did that in his own unique way, And yes, there were times, listen to me very carefully when I say this, because I don't want to be misquoted. There were times when the women put their arms around us and they loved on us and they supported us. But then there were times when they patted us on the back with knives involved. So it felt to me that, yes, watch this. Listen to me, DeBlair. Listen to me, women, when I say this. All right. And there's my brother right there. Not committed suicide, but death by suicide. Thank you, my brother. Good to see you.
Keith, let me ask you this real quick. For those that were not at the conference, can you touch on the statement that was made? And then could you allow Red to discuss exactly what he meant when he made that statement? If it was taken out the wrong way, or if he meant exactly what he said and how he said it.
Okay, if I am correct, I believe you're talking about the statement when he said that if a man does not feel safe at home and he cannot talk to his significant other at home, then he's going to find someone to talk to. There's going to be a safe space for him to go. Immediately when the brother said that, I mean, every man on this platform can relate to that. I didn't say whether we agree or disagree, but we can relate that if you're not getting if you're not getting an ear, if you're not being listened to where you're supposed to be listened to, you're going to go where it's safe for you to be listened to. But here's the problem, even in that, DeBlair, when he made that statement, there were several women in the audience who automatically started saying, your side piece. Why you got to go to your side piece? At that point, why did this brother have to be degraded like that? You know, why couldn't he have a female colleague that he's talking to?
Or let's ask him about this side piece. Let's ask him about the side piece he was talking about. So, Red, are you hearing us clearly?
I'm back now. I hear y'all. I hear y'all now. It went out for a minute, but I hear y'all now.
So Mr. Keith just explained the statement that you made, and I don't know if you heard him, but he basically said that you were like, if you were at home and whoever you were with, your wife, whatever, girlfriend, wasn't creating a safe space for you to be vulnerable or to open up, that you're going to go somewhere else where that person is providing that to you. Was that correct?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that? Because we women, we automatically went to you talking about you was going to go to your side piece.
I mean, first off, appreciate that about my kids, man, and being a father. Thank you for that. And I'm really gonna have an issue. I'm really gonna have an issue, Blair, talking to Brother Ed with all this in the background. I can't see all this cowboy stuff in the background like this. I really so we need to kind of shade his background out or something, because this cowboy stuff in his background is getting to me.
DC4L Red.
No, the statement I made, I mean, come on, man. We all grown. We all grown. We all been heartbroken. We all been through situations. We all been down that road. And it's not necessarily always a side piece. It could be somebody at church. It could be somebody at your job. It could be anything. But like I was saying, come on. I don't know how to sugarcoat it, Blair. We've been heartbroken, and it's the men on the panel, because it goes the other way. Like, it's been millions of instances when a guy is not providing for a woman, and that woman find it somewhere else. Like, this is nothing. This is nothing new to us. The thing is, it's just relationships. Not to say that I haven't been in situations where I stuck it out for over 8 months to a year, not being happy and not being this and that, and then things turned around. And I've been in situations where I wasn't happy and I shut down, and I found peace outside of a relationship. I done been through all instances. So I'm just shedding light on, you know what I'm saying? If we're shutting down, I feel as a partner. And if this was a panel of women, I would be telling my brother, Nafis, I would be telling my brother Kareem the same thing, bro. You got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to be your woman all. You got to figure out how to be, be there or be all she wants you to be before she find it somewhere else. So, that's what I stand on. And, I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but this is what I've been through in my life. This is what I've been through with my clients. This is what I've been through with my friends. Like I seen this consistent behavior in our community for my whole adult life on all levels, from the doctors, from the drug dealers, from the ball players, from the nurse, from the lawyer. This is something consistent with relationships. If we're not happy, sometimes we seek happiness other places. I mean, men might do it more than women. Women might do it. I don't know the statistic, but I mean that's what it is, and that's the clear cut. I'm not a therapist or anything like that. I don't know the way they want me to say it or what's appropriate to say. It's just that's what it is, cut and dry.
So let me ask you a question, and I wanted to ask this for the guys too, Keith. What level of accountability do you guys take for that? Because like I wanted them to listen to you guys and say, okay, why you guys shut down? Like, could some of the reasons why you guys shut down have everything to do with you and not necessarily the woman?
Go ahead.
I didn't hear that last part. I didn't hear that last part.
You know, go ahead, Blair.
I was asking, could some level of it necessarily be you guys, like internal, because there is a such thing as personal development, working on ourselves, right? So regardless of if you guys are shutting down, could it be a situation where the woman is doing everything that she's supposed to do and you guys are still shutting down and you're not allowing her to be that safe space for you? So how do you respond to that situation?
Because I just feel like with women, if we not actually telling them what we need, they're gonna try to do everything outside, and it could be the smallest thing that they not doing, and they could do everything else perfect, and we'll still shut down. It could be something. It could be something simple that we can't really share with them that we just want them to do, that we can't tell them to do it. Cause then it's gonna feel like, okay, you're doing it because I asked you to do it. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So what do
So
you do with that? Like how? Like it seems like damned if you
we
do that.
hope, because we start holding on to these relationships, and then hopefully we be thinking, okay, she'll get it, she'll get it, and you just find yourself not being happy until you do make a decision to leave, and then now she's looking like, well, I did everything I was supposed to do. Well, no, you didn't. In our eyes, and we can't come forth and just be like, okay, we can't put nothing in you that's not in you, if that makes sense. If that's not you, it's just not gonna be you. Like you could try to do it for a little while, but eventually you gonna go back to your authentic self. And then
Right.
you just find yourself like, well, she do all this good, but I'm just missing this. And if it ain't something you could get past, it's gonna always bother you. It's gonna always bother you, and then you're stuck in it because, like, well, she's still a good woman though, but she just missing this, and I'm not happy.
So is that settling?
Exactly.
But what about the 80-20? I don't believe you're going to get everything. And I want the piece to kind
But
of
see, the 80-20, it could be the 80. That 20 might bother you. The 80 is keeping you there. But
Can I
if
ask a
that
question too?
if that
Can I ask,
20 yeah, if that 20% always run through your mind and you can't get over it, it just gonna always be there, and that's a big problem.
go ahead, Michelle.
so what I hear is it's the danger that comes with uncommunicated expectations. So expecting someone to do something or be away, but not telling them and expecting them to still like rise to this occasion. And then when they
Hmm.
don't, it becomes problematic. And I'll
Yeah.
give you an analogy to where it's like, you may have a girl that can really cook, but she can't cook this particular dish that you love so much the way your mama cooked it. Well,
Hmm.
all you have to do is have your mother either share with her what that recipe is, or you tell her what those things are so she can perfect it. So it's not that she doesn't want to be that thing for you or she can't hold space for you. But if a person does not know how to do that, then they're going to fail every single time because there's an expectation there that hasn't been communicated. And it doesn't mean that they're not being their authentic self when they learn how to do it for you, because they may have been doing it a certain way for somebody else or even for themselves the way they like it. But if they want to do those things for you, and this is in every relationship because I've experienced it in my own marriage as well, to where if things are not being communicated, you're going to automatically fail. You have no choice but to fail because you have not been given the assignment. You don't understand what's being expected. But
But
if
you,
there's an opportunity, then you can do it.
Hey,
yeah,
excuse me.
but
Excuse
Yes.
me. What is the 80-20?
So the woman is 80% of what you want. So you have 80% of
What?
everything, and that
Wait,
20
wait, wait.
is the lack. And I
Wait. I'm sorry, Blair. What you
I
say now?
she is 80% of everything that you want, and that other 20% is
you
like
lacking.
things that you have to grow to learn. I got that off of a Tyler Perry movie. Listen, it is real because I've heard it so many times. So don't act
Oh
as
my
if
goodness.
you ain't heard the 80-20 rule. It is
But
real.
you know what, like, you know what's so tough to try to tell? Like, I'm gonna iterate on what you just said about the cooking situation. Do you know how hard it is to tell a woman to cook something that you might like, or that your mama cooked better, or anything that has anything to do with the kitchen? That's tough.
Some women, a woman who
I'm
wants
just
to
saying,
learn and be the person, be their person. Yeah.
women I've dealt with, and that's why we have the conversation about, okay, what do we do speak on, even though we got a problem with it? Like, some stuff we just need to stay away from, because even though we got a problem with it, we know it's going to trigger something in her.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because one thing about a woman that I learned is that you don't want to tell her pretty much like she can't cook, or this don't, because that, I feel like that stuff is valuable to her. So you going in the kitchen and being like, you know what, I want you to cook this, or you can't cook this like my mom, or get my mom to help you. So they gonna feel like you trying to get your mom to help her to cook when
That's
she
where the
probably feel like she
communication
know how to
comes in,
cook.
though. That's where the communication comes in, though. You have to be able to have hard conversations with your partner, with your spouse, with your lover, with your friend. Because if you cannot have a conversation that might ruffle a feather or two, then that may not be the person for you. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes.
You wouldn't dare go in and say, you can't cook like my mama. You need to go learn from my mom. You say, you know what? I love how you started that dish out, but there's something that my mom does that makes it taste different that I really like. You think you could probably call her and ask her what it is that she does with hers? That's how I get kids to do what I needed to do. That's how I get my
Oh,
husband to do the things I need to do. You know what? But it also takes a mature person to know that they're not perfect. So you got to understand the level of maturity that you're dealing with in the person that you're desiring to have this kind of relationship and these kind of conversations with. Because a lot of people, yeah, they're not ready to have hard conversations, or they're not ready to be corrected. But if I am trying to be with this person and I want to be the person for them that I want them to be for me, then I have to show that there's some compromise in me, right? I have to know that I'm not perfect and nobody is, and say, hey, I really want to make this the way you want. I'm probably going to call your mama first and be like, hey, I don't think I'm cooking the dish like he like, because this pot not getting empty.
So
So
Michelle,
can you tell me how you make it?
it sounds like
yeah,
you're a little bit differently than some women because
exactly,
but in the same
exactly.
sense, and I want Nafis to kind of jump in and give me his take. The same sense, even though Red laughed and asked about the 80-20, the 80-20 is real because you can leave a woman because of the 20 and go and discover that the grass is not greener on the other side. That is something that is real. I do believe that in that. Taka, which you guys know Taka, she was there. She was the one that had the 10,000 titles powerhouse. She was in the building. Some people focus too much on the 20 and not the 80. And this is where opportunity to fail increases in relationship. Nafis, what do you think about that?
Well, first off, thanks for having me on here. This is a great conversation. I think the first thing in my personal opinion, is understanding how to communicate. I think for a lot of men, pulling back the layers when we do feel like we have to isolate and we can't really explain on where we're coming from, I think it's a level of communication we have to learn. Some of us, not all of us, learn how to break down those barriers to have those real conversations. I don't never say difficult conversations. I say authentic conversation, because it's never a time where we can be honest sometimes with ourselves on all the stuff that we are dealing with. So I think, like when you said about, well, what if I'm doing everything that I can? I think meeting them where they at, but it takes time for a man to open up, depending on his background, his childhood, or what he's been through, to even learn communication skills that can communicate effectively. Because everybody can communicate, but can you communicate effectively? But I think it takes a level of a woman's communication, as well as her vulnerability to share her personal stuff about her and the things that she went through, so y'all can come to a compromise. I think all this stuff that we're talking about, I think it's a tug and pull on whatever we're doing, like when we communicate and when we trying to get the point across. So that's my perspective on everything about this conversation. But men, we're dealing with a lot on an everyday basis, especially as a black man. Black men go through so much, and we're boxing with each other all the time and boxing with ourselves. So I think when we remove that we let our guard down, we want to make sure that the women is going to honor that. So I think that's where we start at with that conversation.
Hey, Blair, can I jump in?
Yes, please.
Because I love that. And Magnificent Michelle, thank you for that perspective. And thank you for the conversation that we had, sister. Let me say this too. I want to just keep it real. What I've seen in my own life, and what I've seen in the lives of women in my family, just growing up and things of this nature. And I'm just going to be very transparent, because we didn't get a chance to touch on this Saturday. In many instances, women attempt to change men. Women attempt to mold men into what they want them to be. For example, with my wife and I, y'all see me the way I am now. When we was taking the picture and I started just busting out a hop, I started stepping. I'm loud, I go in the mall. They be like, Mr. Brown. I'd be like, everywhere I go, y'all, I'm just hyped like this. I just be hyped, right? And for a long time, my wife was uncomfortable with that, because she's hyped too, but she's more hyped around family. She's like reserved. I'm like the spades player. Like, I'd be like, look, nah, baby, it ain't just when my wife said it's just a game, like, you ain't gonna be my partner. So she learned that it's not just a game. We going hard. And so what happens was, there were times when my wife was in a school district, I would go to her games and I'd be pumping up the crowd, and she'd be like, oh my God, she'd be embarrassed. And so what I started doing, I started retreating. It's like fight or flight. So I started retreating. I stopped going to the games, and then I kind of tempered who I am some. And, she was like, why is it that when you out by yourself, you hype and this, that, and the other, but when we go out together, you kind of mellow. And I said, well, as we went to therapy, I said, that's something that you created, and I wanted you to be comfortable. So I scaled back, because when I'm by myself, I'm going to be my authentic self. So guess what? Therapy taught us to allow each other to be who we authentically are, as long as it's not damaging. For example, I can't be like, look, I'm just a crack addict, I'm abusive. That's just who I am. Deal with it. That ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, y'all, I got this high strung energy. And once she learned to deal with that and not be embarrassed by it and embrace that, then our marriage got better. And there were some things about her, vice versa, that I had to embrace, and the marriage got better. So one of the things I will tell all women on this platform, it's not going to benefit you in the long run to try to change who your man is, especially if he's not doing any damage to others. That's the first point I want to make, that women have to stop attempting to change men. And I'll say this, especially in the Black family, because I believe, and I can't speak for all of y'all, but I grew up in a Black family. I'm talking about in totality, that was more matriarchal. So, a lot of times the women were in control. you know what I mean?
I want to know what you mean by change, because I really want to listen.
Let me say this.
Is just kind of throwing me for
okay, let me define it, because let me define it again. If Keith L. Brown is your man, and Keith L. Brown speaks to everybody he sees in public, I'm talking about everybody. I don't never meet a stranger. If you have a problem with that, and I no longer do that when I'm with you, then I've changed. But I'm not being my authentic self.
Okay.
I'm not being my authentic self. There was even a time when we would go to church and we would drive 2 cars because my wife knew, look, he gonna be after church about 30 minutes talking to people. I'm gonna be there about 5-10 minutes. I'm gonna speak, but I gotta go. Now, guess what? We drive 1 car, and guess what? Now she be fellowshipping with all the women. You know, I'm fellowshipping with the men, and this is what we do. What I'm saying is this, DeBlair. If your man is being his authentic self, and you have a problem with that, and he tones that down for you,
I'm with you.
I think Kareem said, listen to me, if your man is doing something just for you and not because he authentically wants to do it, you're going to feel good, but you will never feel fulfilled. Because if I'm just doing it for you, you will never be fulfilled. And that's
I'm
why,
with you.
watch this, listen to me carefully. That's why I've always said, even to my wife, I don't want you to submit to me, or I submit to you because we have to do it. We should do it because we want to do it. I remember this old thing. Listen to me real fast. I remember when I was growing up, and I remember I had a couple of uncles in my family, and they'd be like, hey man, you need to put your foot down. You need to put your foot down. You need to show her who the man is. I never wanted to be with a woman I had to put my foot down. I never wanted to be with a woman who I had to show that. Submission is a choice both ways. If I have to force you, if I have to be a dictator, if I have to dominate you in order for us to be in peace, then we will never be in peace. That's just the way I feel about it.
I mean, I agree 100%.
I agree.
And I definitely don't think you need to change who you are. If you're in a situation
Hell no,
where
I don't need to change
you
who
have
I
to
know.
change who you are, and it's uncomfortable, because when I'm by myself or when I'm with this group of friends, I act this way, but when I'm in the presence of my partner or whoever, I end up having to be a different person. That is a problem. I want to kind of like take the conversation back to the main topic, which these are all great points. And I do not think that my question was answered in regards to the reason why the men were brought on was for us to get a better understanding of what we could potentially be doing better to serve you guys when it comes to your mental health and your mental well-being. Because we do know you guys are shut down. We do know you guys will go to the friend, or if you're not having a safe space, the side chick or whatever chick it is, you will go over there to get what you're looking for. But when it comes to your mental health, why is it that men, or what can we do as women to create that safe space for you? And then my question that you never answered is, what level of accountability do you guys place on yourself?
Oh, well, listen,
it's not always us, because we're definitely trying to understand, but it's not just our fault.
Okay, let me say this. Let me jump in real fast with the accountability part. Yes, I believe the best ability you can have is availability and accountability. So, and I think and Michelle even said this about how do I give my wife space. One of the things I do, if I shut down, okay, and I don't want to talk at that time, we do have an agreement when there is a time where we set aside to talk. So it can't be, I don't feel like talking about it, and then we just sweep it under the rug. No, if I'm not going to talk about it at that time, we do come up with a time where we are going to discuss it. So that's accountability, that there has to be a time set aside when we are going to discuss it. We are going to discuss it. The other thing about accountability, DeBlair, is remember what I said before. I said I shut down because I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret later. Okay. So I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret later. Okay. And then, so from that standpoint, the first part about accountability is even when I do shut down, I hold myself accountable because we're going to talk at some point. And watch this, 7 times out of 10 is going to be with our therapist. Either it's on Zoom or it's in person, because even now, after all of these years of being together, there are times when we realize, guess what? We just can't do it by ourselves. It's going to take somebody, a liaison, somebody who's going to have to moderate our conversation, because we are both two strong-willed people. That's real.
Right. Keith, can you see the question on the screen? Go ahead and take it.
Do you think men have an insatiable appetite? What do you mean? Do you Brother Alton, do you mean sexual appetite? Well, I mean, so which appetite are we talking about when you say the insatiable appetite? Which appetite, you know?
So, Brother Alton, could you clarify that question?
Brother Awesome Alton. That's Brother Alton Jackson. Don't be playing with him.
Can you clarify that question? Anybody else? How do you guys feel about that? Because we definitely can go back and forth in regards to that. But Nafis and Kareem, you personally shut down for your own personal reasons, right? What are some of the reasons why, when it comes to not just like your woman not being who she needs to be for you in regards to like if she can cook and clean, but something a little more seriously, and that is your mental health. Are you comfortable with opening up and sharing when there's something that's really internally bothering you, when there's a time where you want to cry, or when there's a time where you're not in, quote, what society considers being a man?
I can speak to that. I can speak to that personally. I think I'm still working on that. I think that's a journey in itself, to be honest with you. You know, that's a lot of stuff that I dealt with in my past growing up. I never seen positive communication from my mother and father. So, you know, I'm trying to change that whole generational thing of learning how to communicate and being vulnerable enough to share that stuff. Because as I was growing up, all I seen was either my pop would just shut down and just do his own thing. My mom, so I think that's a trigger for me or whatever. But I am learning to through therapy to have those hard conversations or authentic conversations, to be able to voice when things are not in my favor, or I feel like it's a trigger for me, or I feel like it's threatening to me and I'm not ready to share. Because it's different between sharing and exposing some of the things that you've been through. So I think that's going to be over time for myself to work on. And I think that's more of an internal struggle that I deal with on a day-to-day basis that I got to work through therapy and things of that nature.
Okay. Kareem, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, went out for a minute when you was asking the question. What was the question again?
About you being open up to be vulnerable. If it, like with you and your partner, are you comfortable with like if there's something that's bothering you and you per se may want to cry or just kind of shut down and not at that moment try to be a strong man per se, is that something you feel comfortable doing? And if not, why?
It just depends on the situation. Like with me, um, it depends if I feel like she can help the situation. If I feel like she can't help the situation, I'll shut down and I won't talk about it, because it's just some things like with me, I have outside kids, so I be dealing with different things with them and their moms, and it just get crazy. So it'll have me in a messed up mental state. And to talk to my significant other about it, sometimes I just feel like just shutting down and I just get over it. That's how I just always been. I get over it, and 9 times out of 10 it end up being all right until it builds up, and then something could trigger something in that relationship, and it'll cause me to blow up. So, and like I said on the panel, like I'm still having trouble with that. So I don't. I
So
mean, I don't know.
a question was to you, and I'm thinking this is to what you basically just said from Miss Marilyn Laverne. How do you know that she can or can't help the situation?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. I just feel like in my situation, I don't say nothing and I shut down because I feel like she can't. I'm not saying she can't. She probably can, but in my situation, I just feel like she can't. So I shut down.
Yeah, I don't know, because me personally, I feel like we do what we internally know how to do, because you're supposed to learn your mate's love language. That's a thing. Learning their love language, what makes them who they are, and understanding them. But it gets to a point where if you guys are not sharing and communicating the desires and what you need and how we can better assist you, it's almost like it's an unfair situation for us, right? You guys, I got you on the stage and I say, tell us, but do you do this in real life? Because men don't open up. They don't. You will open up to a stranger before you open up to the person that you are next to every single day?
Well, the Blair. Let me jump in right here. We see this is here's the mistake that women make. The mistake that women make is that women, and this deals with our mental health. Women think that we are not emotional. Women think that we don't communicate. Women think that we won't open up. That's not it. We do. We are emotional with brothers who we trust. We do open up with brothers. See, one of the things Edward said on the stage was there's this misnomer out in society that says that black men only talk to each other when we're talking about sports or foolishness. That's not true. 90% of what we talk about are real issues. Okay, 90% of what black men talk about to each other. I'm not just talking about my fraternity brothers. I'm talking about I have a mentorship organization with brothers, and we cry with each other. We pray with each other. We laugh with each other. We talk to each other. We share with each other. And so some of the things that even the women would say, well, you should be talking to your wife about that. No, not if she's the issue. Okay, so now I can't, you understand, not if she is the issue. So I am going to talk to those brothers and vice versa. When I'm the issue, she's not talking to me. She might be talking to her girlfriend, or she might be talking to a trusted, female colleague or whatever. And here I am. So, and so what I would say, DeBlair, to answer your question again, one of the greatest things that black women can do when it comes to black men connecting with other black men is not being jealous. Not being jealous when we connect with other black men, because 9 times out of 10, we are connecting with other black men and we are being edified and elevated and built up. Okay, so we need to stop thinking that black men only hang with each other for foolishness, or black men are only hang with each other to cover for each other. No, we're not hanging with each other just to cover for my boy. We hanging with each other because Kareem is a covering for me. You okay? Because brother Nafis is a covering for me. Brother Edward is a covering for me. Brother Red is a covering for me. But that's the issue. Even today, when black men are surrounded with other positive black men and we are in fellowship with each other, a lot of times that's intimidating to black women, because black women see that as time away from me. Time away from me. So let's be real with it. Since you're talking about the mental health, yes, you want to help us, then black women, celebrate your black man when he's hanging with other black men.
Okay, so Yolanda Darnell, thank you for that, Keith. Yolanda Darnell said, with that being said, what are women for, in your opinion? If she is the issue, that is who you need to be speaking with, and vice versa.
Well, no, first of all, Yearning Yolanda, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. But let me say this. Sometimes when the individual is the issue, once again, I'm going back to therapy. And then I'm talking to my brother, and I'm talking to these brothers on this platform, because these brothers on this platform, Yolanda, might give me some insight in and give me some alternatives to say what I want to say better. So these brothers might, uplift me, inspire me, and empower me so that when I do have the conversation with her, it comes out right. And I'm just giving scenarios right now. But what happens, Yolanda, is, once again, if we don't come directly to you all, then you're offended. You're offended. We need to talk this out. We need to communicate. Y'all won't communicate. No, we do communicate, but we might communicate with other men and be a support system for other men. And the reason that is so troubling to black women is because for so many years and decades, black men have not been that support system for each other. And now there's more emphasis on it. There's more emphasis because it was what? It was the girlfriends talking in the salon. But now if you go into 90% of the salons today, in the salons, they talking about foolishness, but in the barbershop, we talking about empowerment.
Listen, Keith, I can't get with you on that all the time, because
70%.
listen, because I can very attest. I've had the privilege of hearing some of the conversations that men have, and it's not always about positive things. And you have to watch who you talk to. You have to watch what conversations and what circles you have those conversations in, because the person that you could be speaking with, or the group that you could be speaking with, they could have other issues, and it could be counterproductive to what you're doing when you go to the house.
But that's why I said, listen to, what did I just say? What did I preface that with, DeBlair? I prefaced that by giving examples of those positive black men who have those conversations with each other. And a lot of times that's still intimidating to women. You understand? That's still, so listen, no, I'm not in every barbershop across the country, But I will say that now Black men in many instances are being more intentional about who they talk to, who they surround themselves with. So I'm just saying, going back to your question, how can Black women further support Black men? Well, guess what? Be happy when your Black man fosters relationships with other positive Black men. Don't be jealous about that. Don't be intimidated. Be happy and support that.
I think that comes with a lot of maturity. Like a lot of the things that you're speaking about, Brother Keith, are things that come with maturity and self-awareness. And it doesn't mean that a man is immature. Sometimes they're just not aware. And some men don't have those men groups or those friends yet that they could really lean into like that. Some of the people that they're leaning into are not the best influences and things of that nature. And I watched, even in my husband, I watched his relationships and friendship circles evolve to something that I'm so proud. I send him off regularly. Please go talk to your homies. I may call his homies and be like, hey, I need you to hold space for your brother. He is not well, right? That's important. But all of these things are coming with a level of self-awareness that really drives men to look into themselves and say, you know what? My woman ain't gonna be my all in this space, because no person can be everything to anybody. It's just not possible.
Absolutely.
Making sure that they understand that, hey, I can go and have conversations with mature men who are working through these things, who can hold space for them. We are going to celebrate that. What happens when it's not getting celebrated is that's not being communicated. If you're just saying that I'm going to go out, but you're going out and there's no evidence of what's happening. I think the biggest thing that happens is that when this growth and these things are occurring, it never comes back. You never hear it. And sometimes we don't do a great job of acknowledging change behaviors or change responses or things like that. Mm-hmm. I can be transparent and say that I've been guilty of that. But when it does happen and we begin to notice it, or it's a very, very stark difference, it does happen. So we've got to acknowledge both things. But I always talk about calling a thing a thing. We want to celebrate men in every space that we can. We love that Black men are now holding space for each other. We wish that was evident in every community, because it's not yet. I saw on that panel and my heart was so full and so overwhelmed with just the level of Black excellence that was shining when you guys were sitting up there. I said, this is the dopest thing I have ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen a more well thought out and just amazing group of diverse men in my life. And I grew up in a family full of men. So I'm seeing things, but that was something very different. That doesn't happen all the time. So yes, if our men are going out and having those relationships and really pouring into one another, I don't know a Black woman who's not going to support that. But everybody doesn't have that yet. And I think sometimes when we speak from spaces, we speak from places of privilege that assumes that everyone's relationship or everyone's friendship or marriage or whatever they're in is in that same space. And that's a dangerous assumption to make. So I love the questions that happen, but sometimes when we make those questions, we also follow with an assumption. So we have to be cautious of the assumption, because that's exactly what happened with Red's comment. It was taken out of context because people assumed that he was speaking from a today space and not a previous space, or not a this is what could potentially happen space. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. And I'll let you speak. Keith, I want to say this, and then definitely you and Red can answer this question. Even with that, with us wanting to just be able to listen and instead of just jumping to conclusions so quickly or whatever, there is, when you're in relationships, friendships, whatever the case may be, there is a level of understanding that needs to be had, because granted, people have had issues and things that happen to them that they're bringing over into other relationships, right? Or they're working through those things. And is it fair for us to be considered like you talked about, that fight or flight, right? When we see something that's going on, like when Red made that statement specifically, we don't know what type of triggers that affected. Even when Stevie made the statement he triggered a whole lot of women. He triggered the pastor. She was really ready to comfort him. So what level of understanding before you guys shut down do you give to us? Because just like we're trying to understand you, at what point will you guys try to understand us? Because we can't continue to just be quiet all the time and pretend like we're not affected by some of the things that you guys do as well. No matter how hard we try, it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. So I know what it looks like for us to just continue to just kind of like not let you guys hear what you have to say, or you guys shut down for whatever reason. But when is it a trade where communication comes in place, where it's nobody's fault? It's clearly something that just needs to happen. Sit down and understand each party. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Let me say this. I know earlier you all said it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Let me go a little deeper. It's when you're in it, that might be universal on an informal level. But let me get real. If you're in a relationship, it's not what you say. It's not even how you say it. It's how they interpret what you said. Okay. Let me say that again. Because if Michelle is my woman and I come up to Michelle and I go, "You are so ugly." Y'all see how nice I said that? Y'all see I said that wonderful, right? I said I was so nice and kind, but what I said was still nasty. It was still derogatory. So it's in a relationship, it's not what you say, it's not even how you say it, it's how they interpret what you said. The person you with, they know you. So my wife knows when I'm being sarcastic. Okay. She knows when I'm saying something to push that button. She said, "You're a wordsmith. You like to push that button." So she knows and then I know when she's saying something to intentionally hurt me. Do you know what I hear a lot of women saying, DeBlair, once into mental health? "Oh yeah, I said it because I intentionally wanted to hurt you." People, yeah, come on now, let's keep it real, Edward. We hear that. Yeah, I said it because I really wanted it to hurt you. In that moment, I wanted to hurt you. So isn't it better in that moment for you not to say it at all? Isn't it good for you to shut down in that moment? I've seen women say that to men, like, "Look, I said it because I knew it was going," because 9 times, and I'm just talking to the brothers I hang with.
Hurt people, basically.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I understand that. So listen to what I'm saying, DeBlair. And you being my sister who I love, one of the things I'm gonna go back to this is your thesis statement from RAFLive. What can women do to support us? Okay. This was the thesis statement.
Yeah.
What can you do to better help? Now, if you want to talk about if we want to make it 50-50 and talk about what we can do to support y'all, we need to do that on another platform. But in this platform, going from RAFLive, the thesis statement wasn't so Keith, what can you all do to better support us? No. Obviously, you have the vision and the insight to come up with that topic because you saw from your cousin, God rest his soul, to many other men who had death by suicide and more, that there was some lack, okay, that Black men needed to be supported more. So I want to stay right. I'm not saying that women don't deserve that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying for this particular thesis statement, we're focusing more on what women can do to support, watch this, to support our mental health. And I think we've given some excellent suggestions. I think we've been open, we've been transparent. But Michelle, here is the problem. Let me go back to the problem that I have with what Red said. I don't have a problem with what Red said. I have a problem with the reaction to what he said, because automatically when he said what he said, automatically there were women in the audience who automatically stereotyped this brother and automatically degraded this brother, ostracized this brother, and thought that because of his statement, it had to be something negative. That brother could have been talking to his aunt that lives in Delaware. You understand what I'm saying? That brother could have been talking to his sister, his cousin, but automatically, we had comments from the audience, "Oh, the side chick." So that lets you know one of the other ways that Black women can support Black men is to raise your expectations of us. Okay, see us in a higher light. Don't buy into social media. Don't buy into the negative hype. Don't buy into all men are dogs. Don't buy into all of that. So clearly, there needs to be a mindset shift on how Black women view Black men overall.
So that was well said, Keith. And I did something differently tonight because I wanted to invite someone that was in the audience to get her perspective of what she viewed, because she left there with insight. So clearly what was said on the panel had some type of transformation to her. So Renee, I want you to go off mute for a second and just kind of talk to me about what you witnessed up there, because you had no idea what was going to transpire. but it affected you in a certain type of way. So could you kind of talk to me about what you experienced?
Yes. First off, let me give you your flowers. That was amazing event. And fellas, thank you so much for all the insight and gems you guys dropped because I did learn a lot and it made me do a lot of self-reflecting. I think that was the biggest thing that I took from that was being able to step back and watch how the women reacted, watch how the women talked, watch how it was a me thing, and not once was it about you guys. So it made me realize, like, maybe I have been a little selfish. Maybe the reasons why I do ask, "Are you okay? How can I help?" is for my gratification and satisfying because I have insecurities within myself and I need the answer because I feel like maybe it might have been something that I did. So I want you to answer it so I could reassure myself. And not once am I thinking about, dang, is he really okay? Like, maybe he does need a moment to step back and, internalize what's going on with himself and he'll come and talk to me. But I also realized another thing, like the whole masculine part of it. A lot of the women weren't being women. They were trying to take control of the conversation and make it about their point of view and not you guys' point of view. And it made me realize, like, is that what I sound like? Like, is that what I look like when we have these type of conversations? So it definitely did highlight some of my own behavior because I was able to watch it in other women who look like what I look like. So it is definitely a eye opener, and it's definitely making me realize like you got to look in the mirror, you got to look at yourself, you got to look at some of the things that you might have done to make someone not feel comfortable, or some of the things that you might be overbearing with, or you may be a good person, you may have good intent, but it's not coming off that way because there are internal actions that you're using this thing for, and it's not for them, it's for yourself. So I definitely did take a look in the mirror, and I do appreciate you guys for all of your insight and your stories and stuff of that nature.
So if we didn't help with one person in the room, I guess that was a successful turnout, right? Because we did have a lot of clapbacks with that. And I'm hoping, and that's why I want to bring it back because we didn't have enough time. We definitely didn't have enough understanding because, like we said, Stevie had some things to say, and we had statements that were being made. And Keith, you just continue to say, ask questions, don't make statements. Why were you driving the conversation to more of a question-oriented topic versus them making statements? What was your issue behind that?
Because once again, in perfect order of the RAFLive, that was the Q&A session. That was the Q&A session. And even during that part of the Q&A session, okay, because it was that was not the time for women to get on the mic and make speeches. That see, once again, we were out of order. So DeBlair, what happened was, and the brothers are in here, they are my witnesses. There were several times I was talking to the beautiful timekeeper, my sister, asking her to add 5 more minutes, add 5 more minutes, add 5 more minutes, because there was at least 17 minutes of unsolicited comments by women in the audience, and they were brilliant and beautiful and bold and well-meaning, but watch this, it was out of order. That wasn't the time. It was the time for a Q&A. See, that's the thing. But what happened was there were questions that weren't even asked because there were individuals, all well-meaning and brilliant, who gave their own monologues and their own dissertations. And that wasn't the time for that. And so because Dr. Daniels had to leave, and it was already agreed upon. It was the protocol, and I wasn't about to disrespect you, DeBlair, or the RAFLive. So what did I do? I did my job. Okay? And that's why it was the Q&A. But those brothers didn't even get a chance to elaborate more because there were women in the audience, right, who took it upon themselves to take over the men's panel and to disrespect the moderator. And they didn't mean it. Watch, they didn't mean to do it.
So
But
you
it
were
was,
the reason. It's the reason why I got you as the moderator, because anybody couldn't have handled that. It
oh,
took
no,
a special
but
type of person to be able to
oh
handle that
yeah.
type of crowd.
But you know what? Adrian, who's on here, she'll tell you, look, don't get it twisted. I might be hyped, I might be all of these things, but guess what? I bring order. I bring a level of firmness. I bring a level, and it might be uncomfortable to some people, but that goes back to this. Let me say this. It goes back to those individuals who attempted to do what they wanted to do during the Q&A session. Is, watch this, is that who they are in that session, or is that who they are by nature? And if that's who they are by nature, then guess what? Now we have a bigger issue, because whoever you are by nature is going to leak out. Whoever you are in private, it's going to leak out at some point publicly. And that's what happened. So that's why, DeBlair, you had to come up there and say, hold up, sisters, wait a minute. This is why brothers don't talk now. This is why brothers don't, we are here to support them. But I'm telling you, I had to ask for at least 17 minutes back, because the sisters could not follow simple instructions. Period.
They don't listen. They don't listen.
Thank you. That's real. They heard, watch this.
I will admit that the reason I brought you guys on, exactly what I thought was going to happen happened. I will say that it happened, and now there's awareness brought around it, because sometimes you have to go through the storm in order to understand what it looks like, because just like Renee said, I had no idea I looked like that, right? You have to sometimes see what it looks like in order for you to be like that's ugly. Or if I'm doing that to my man, I see why he's going over here having conversations or being open with somebody else. Adrian, you was in the room. What did you take of all this? What was your experience?
Lord, not you want me to come off of mute. Hey, y'all. Hey, everybody. um, I'll say this. Even and I'm just trying to get my words right, because I feel like this. It's twofold, right? I was listening to you speak, Keith, and I love you. And just like when you listen sometimes and you're listening to hear and not simply to respond, you hear and you can make a good consideration of what somebody is trying to say, right? But when you are listening to respond and not to hear, then you've already made it up in your mind what your response is going to be, and how you're going to receive the information that was given. And so it was when the men were speaking, and even in my session afterwards, because this infiltrated my whole session, right? My session was on conflict resolution and conflict management. And so I deviated away from what I had planned for us to use that moment to decompress and kind of go through what had happened on the panel, because women were triggered. And I feel like sometimes also like that word is thrown around a lot, being triggered. Of course there was like a visceral response. They felt some kind of way, it stimulated something in them. And, it may or may not have been truly a trigger. However, it's like he said, when you are that person at your core, you can't hide that. Like you can't hide who you are, regardless of how much you try to. And so I don't think that some of the women were honestly ready to have this level of conversation, right? Like they were like, okay, yeah, I'm here, I'm listening to it. But if you aren't truly ready to receive the information, it doesn't matter what the information is, because you aren't ready to get it. And that being said, a lot of and I don't know, it was you, Red, and it was Stevie. And even like on this call, I feel like Kareem and Nafis, I see you all like smiling and laughing, but you all aren't really saying what you're smiling and laughing about or what your thoughts are. You know what I mean? Like you aren't saying it out loud, but y'all both were, like smiling, covering your face, giggling, you know what I mean? versus just taking that opportunity to stand up and really communicate what it is that you're thinking. Kareem, I understand it. You know, this was your first time and you haven't been on that platform before. You did an amazing job. Thank you again. I know we said that to you that day, but thank you for your insight because it was great. Like honestly, a lot of women truly felt what you had to say. Even just like being transparent enough to say that you didn't have good male role models. You know what I mean? Like you didn't know what a man looked like. So that was amazing for you to share. However, I think that we men need to do more sharing of those types of emotions and feelings. You know, it's like you really need to because we don't know, right? Like how would we know? We women get into relationships, men and women get into relationships and they aren't having these deep conversations with their significant others because one or both of them have never had the opportunity to have these deep conversations, right? Or they might say something and they're embarrassed, or you have an argument and they throw it back up in your face. I think you all mentioned that too. And this was a great opportunity, minus the women who weren't able to receive the information. It was still a great opportunity to share what needed to be heard and allow them to accept it or not. So
Right.
I think that, you know, that's just what it was. And I think that and I went to bat for y'all. Like I really did. In that conflict class, let me tell y'all.
We
Because
definitely can go to
it,
bat for you guys. And like, this is not the end because like, we're going to create something where we want to normalize this. And we've been going an hour and a half and I do want to respect people's time. I do want Edward to kind of speak and the feast to speak from a more professional level. And I also want to go around the room to each individual guy because the question is, what can we do as women to better support you guys when it comes to your mental health? I want you guys to leave us with tools and strategies. I need you guys to leave us with something. Give us something that can help us along this journey. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, and I'm not saying that, you know, what you're saying that everybody is going to agree with, right? Because what works here may not work, but we're listening right now. We want to listen. So I want Edward to just kind of give us a closing analogy of everything that you see. Let's bring this together and how can this be value added today into our listeners out there?
Well, let me just say really quick. I know I heard the word triggered a lot tonight, and honestly, I think being triggered is a healthy emotion. I mean, how do we grow if we're always comfortable? So if being triggered makes you uncomfortable, then you have to now seek answers to develop and become better in with whatever you're struggling with. So being triggered is okay for men and the women because now you have to take a look at the totality of your life and the totality of the people you're dealing with. So that's okay. So don't think that if you're upset in a conference by what somebody said, that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Now, the only thing that we didn't get to do was really bring it together and get some understanding from, again, it was a women's conference. And DeBlair, like you said, it did exactly what you thought what you meant for it to do. It created questions. It created conversations. We just did not have enough time to address a lot of those things. So hopefully when we move forward, you know, there'll be a lot of Q&A that can take place and women can get a real understanding. As far as what women can do to support us, I think first and foremost, we use accountability was thrown around a lot today. I think we do have to take accountability for who we are and how we move. A lot of us and women understand we have to grow into that. A lot of us didn't see a man being accountable. A lot of us weren't taught what accountability was. So give us a little grace in that area because sometimes, you know, we have to grow into that. And then once we grow into what that looks like, then we can tell you what we need from you because we now know. I can't tell you what I need from you if I don't know what I need. Mm-hmm. So you have to give us the opportunity to grow. It took me a long time. I was raised in a house full of women. They babied the hell out of me to my detriment. It was great when I was a kid because I didn't have to do nothing. They did everything for me. I remember being 21 years old in college. I played basketball. I dislocated my elbow. Do you know my sister came? I'm a grown man, 21, and took me to the doctor. I had a whole car in an apartment. So it took me a long time to find my footing as a man because the women in my life, and I love them, they coddled the hell out of me. So we have to grow and understand who we are before we can tell you what we need from you. So give us a little grace with that. And again, if no one's taught us how to communicate with women, also keep that in mind. We don't know what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just plain and simple. So, and once we figure out who we are, and that's the important part of not jumping from relationship to relationship. We get our heart broken over here, then we run to the next woman to try to mend that. We have to allow ourselves the chance to get to know us and what we like and and understand what we need before we can now communicate that to somebody else. So,
Absolutely.
women, I say be patient with us, and men, do your due diligence to communicate with your woman. And I've said this on the panel: women, if a man begins to open up to you, don't blow it. Don't dog him out behind his back because you think he's being soft or whatever. And Lord, don't let him find out, because it's a done deal. You'll never hear how he really feels again. So give us grace, give us patience, and when we start to give you that understanding, don't mess it up. That's all I have.
That. And I know this is not about the women, but I can attest to that, because in a relationship, I've shared things that I wouldn't share with anybody else, and I decided to be in that space and share that. And as soon as we get into an altercation, you throw that in my face. You throw that very thing that hurts me into my face, and it causes me to say, like, never again, right? And is that what you were saying? Basically, like, allow you guys to be vulnerable and protect you guys. So I definitely like that. I'm going to go to Kareem with your tools and strategies that you can give us as women. But in the meantime, I would like for the audience, please, whatever questions you have, I'm going to pose these questions to the guys, and these questions will be answered. Drop any question that you have in the chat, and we're going to carry this conversation over on Facebook, on Instagram. We're going to normalize these things. So if you have any questions or statements or whatever the case may be, please go ahead and drop it in the chat. Edward, as well, drop where they can contact you. Once you get done talking, drop in the comments where they can reach you. How can they stay connected to you if they have additional questions? All right, Kareem, I am going to give the floor to you. We're listening.
Well, I feel like Red. Listen. And what I mean by that is pretty much, can y'all can hear me?
Yes.
What I mean by that pretty much, like, quit trying to beat something out of, well, I'm gonna just say me. Quit trying to beat something out of me that you're not ready for the answer. So I give you an example. If I tell you I'm good, I'm good. Quit trying to force it out of me. So give me some time to reflect, and I always will come back and we'll have that conversation. But sometimes if I'm telling you I'm good, like, just chill out for a minute. Quit trying to beat it out of me. Quit trying to beat it out of me, because it makes it worse. So just less of that and more of just listening and understanding um the person you with, and just know, like, okay, let him have his time, and he always come back to me, and we'll figure it out then. So that's how I feel.
Thank you. Basically, just give you your time. Don't.
Give me my time. Quit trying to fix everything that you like. You think you could fix everything right then, and sometimes it just needed time to breathe. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? It's like you trying to beat something up on me because you want the answer. You want to be able to fix, but it's like it's not the time right now. Like, I'm somewhere else. I just need to get my thoughts together, get my mind together, and I'll come back to you and we'll have that conversation. And sometimes they don't even have to. It might just be something I'm dealing with outside of you. But it's like, I understand women. They want to always make sure they man okay. But if I'm telling you, like, look, I'm good right now. Just fall back for a second and we'll
Right.
get back to it.
So just listen. Same thing Edward said. Just listen, because I was just gonna do something that I know we always do. It's kind of like, we love you and we want to help you. So let us help you, and we force ourselves on you when it, like you said, it may not
Yeah,
be time. Also,
yeah.
thank you so much for that, Kareem. We do have some guys that's in the chat. Guys, even though you're not in here on the panel, we do want to hear from you as well. Give us some pointers on what we can do as women to better support you guys when it comes to mental health. So please, by all means, drop your gems in the chat. All right, I want to go to Red. Red, can you talk? You're on mute. I can take you off mute. Hold on one second. You got to unmute yourself.
Here we go. Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So you said tools.
What tools and strategies can you give to us? Like, what advice can you give to us as women, Black women, that we can do to better support you guys when it comes to your mental health and creating that safe space?
I think somebody said it earlier. Like each relationship is different, of course. Each man is different. Each woman is different. So just from my past experiences, my experiences that I've seen with my friends, with my brothers, with other people or anything like that. I know we always say communication is the key, communication is the key, and I mean it is, but I think we all lack communication at times. Um, I just feel y'all need to listen. Y'all need to listen to us when you do have that attention, like the bro just said. When you do get us to that point where we are sharing and being vulnerable with you, I think you need to listen, be very attentive. Like you said, don't use those vulnerable moments against us when things go left or anything like that. And most of all, try your best to figure out how to be our peace. Like it's gonna look different for everybody, but try to be our peace. It could be something you can do small, or it might be a lot for this person, small for that person, but just try to be our peace. Figure out how to be our peace. I don't have an answer to that as far as how you do that. It's like I said, it's gonna be different, but just try to figure that part out. Try to be there for us and like support us emotionally. Just have our back. And I think I said that on the panel. Like that's the main thing I see, and that's the most common thing I see in the guys I've hung out with and my friends and stuff. Like just knowing you got my back. Like knowing that whenever I come home, whenever I turn to you, you got me. There's no doubt in my mind that you got me. And once I feel you got me and feel that you got my back no matter what, that's when I'm opening up. That's when I'm gonna be vulnerable. That's when I'm gonna share things with you. And that's when our relationship go flourish. Just knowing you have my back. Everything else we can figure that out financially, where we go move to, what job we go get, oh whatever. We can figure all that other stuff out. But just knowing you have my back, knowing that you're there for me, knowing that you genuinely love me for me, and it's just me and you. Once you get me to that point, is everything else go be easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. Nafis, Kareem, drop your information in the chat so people can know how to follow you. Nafis, what you got for us ladies?
I think it's a great convo. I'm gonna piggyback off of pretty much everybody, but I think what women can do can learn men's love language. Women always want men to learn their love language. Love men's love language on what makes them tick and what makes them happy and things of that nature. But also I know everybody talked about communication, but the nonverbal communication I think is definitely important. Monitor your nonverbal communication when things arise that y'all may not be on the same accord as far as arguments, and make sure you paying attention and being aware of those things when the reaction that you are looking for, like at the panel, like when Red said what he said, and that reaction. For some people, we would shut down on those things. So be mindful of the nonverbal communication that you give off as women, and try to understand and meet your partner halfway, because I think that's so important. And what I mean by halfway is that when a man tells you, like Kareem said, he's okay, yeah, check in on him, but check in a way where he's at a point where he's in a safe space where he feels like he can be that he can have candid conversation. So that's a couple tips that I would have to say about that situation.
All right. Thank you. That took me back to something that we do all the time. When you guys are talking or saying things, we always have a rebuttal to say. and sometimes just sitting back and listening and just taking in. And that's a problem, especially for high-powered women in leadership or just in general. We always want to have something to say after what you guys have to say. And that may be one of the things that we have to work on, is knowing when to say those things. Not saying that we have to be silenced at all, but just knowing the appropriate time to speak. Knowing when to just kind of like sit with them in silence and let them know that even though I'm not saying anything, I'm here for you whenever you're ready for me to be there. So I'm actually learning something on this panel as well in regards to that, because I know I got something to say and I want to say it. And that's why another reason this is so important, because you have to be open to hearing it. It takes a lot, you know, for you to just really sit back. And I don't know if the word is submissive. I don't know if the word is just having understanding. I don't know if the word is just learning your partner, whatever it is, but it takes growth. Like Michelle said earlier, it's like a maturity thing. It's not for anyone that's immature, because it's a process. All right. So
Blair.
Yes.
Can I say something right quick? I was at my aunt passed a couple of months ago, and the guy that was doing the eulogy, he made a statement to where, like, we always don't have to, I'm gonna tell you what's on my mind, or I'm gonna give you a piece of my mind. I'm gonna tell you what's on my mind. And he was just saying, like, we always don't have to do that. Sometimes we can just shut up and listen. Like, we don't have to always just give a person a piece of our mind and just let them know that. And this attests to my brother Nafis. Like, Nafis, he's licensed. He really do this, and he's been helping me a lot. Like, he's not my therapist, but he's been helping me a lot. And like the brother said, he's a brother that I can go to and talk to, as well as Kareem. But one thing about him that always stuck out to me, that I've never seen in any of my homeboys or anything like that, he don't get rattled. And like how I don't know if y'all paid attention, but at the conference when things went left and all that stuff, notice he didn't say a word. And he's an expert in this situation. He's an expert. Me and him talked about it. He had so much to say about it, but in that moment, he didn't say a word. And it's just like that professionalism and what he displayed. And I'm like, why he ain't say none of this when, why he ain't say none of this at the thing? But just sitting back and knowing he had a lot to say, knowing he was very knowledgeable and he can give good insight or something. He he's not. I'm not getting the word, but he don't let things fluster him, and he's not with the back and forth. He can give you educated whatever you need when you're asking him and stuff, but he don't let it go back and forth. And just hearing y'all talk, I think a lot of us need to do that, and I think that's what you just said too, because we tend to. I think she said it earlier. We listen to debate or something. Somebody said we listen to just go back and forth instead of just listening to understand and then try to help. And, like Brother Ed said, we didn't get no understanding. But I just wanted to say that. My bad. Sorry.
Thank you. That was well said and well received. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. All right, Brother Keith and Renee, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to close it out. But what do you have for us, Brother Keith? We want to learn.
Yeah. All right, real fast before I do that. Brother Noble Nafis and Brother Empowered Edward, DM me y'all cell phone numbers, because I got some brothers that I need that have expressed that they not need but deserve some help. So y'all DM me on my IG. I would give y'all my cell number out loud, but I don't want everybody to have it. We in an open forum. You feel me? So listen, real tools. DeBlair, I love it. And the reason I love DeBlair so much is one of the things DeBlair kept saying tonight was tools, tangible, And one of the tools that women can have to help protect or elevate our mental health is avoid these 4 words. We need to talk. Women, avoid those 4 words when you want to have a conversation with your significant other. We need to talk, because what I found, and I'm not talking about my relationship, I'm talking about on a universal level. What we found as men is when women say we need to talk, that means you all need to talk and we need to listen. That's what you really mean. You don't really mean we need to talk. You really mean you need to talk and I need to listen. And DeBlair, I believe if you took a poll and you took 100 men, at least 80 of them would say when they hear the words we need to talk, something on the inside of them makes them very nervous because they know that they're in trouble. Okay. We know we're in trouble. It's like when that teacher says, hey, I need to see you after class. It could be you did something great, but as soon as she says, I need to see you after class, man, you be like, I'm in trouble. So women, when you say to your man, your significant other, we need to talk, I want you to understand that emotionally, we do shut down and we do put up a wall because for so many years, whether it's been in our childhood, our adolescence, our manhood, when we were 21 playing basketball and our sister took us to the doctor and we had an appointment, and our sister still came and took us right there with, when we hear we need to talk, automatically we go on the defensive. That's number one. The next thing, women, in order to elevate our peace, our mental health, understand that we really want to operate in a place of peace. We really do. We know that sometimes there has to be conflict, but let me say this, even when we're going through something and we're growing through something, we don't have to be nasty to each other. See, that's the thing. I don't mind having the courageous conversations. I don't mind, as Edward talked about, triggers, right? Because he said that's healthy. But when we are communicating with each other, let's avoid being nasty to each other. Because that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. No, they don't hurt. They kill. Words will kill. And I may not open up again. So number one, do your best to avoid we need to talk, because when you come to us and say that, we understand that you are putting yourself in a domineering position where you want to dominate the conversation and let me know everything that's wrong with me. And number two, can we communicate without being nasty to each other? And number three, when you get yours out and when I get mine out, let us do our best. Listen, let us do our best to respond like this. So what I'm understanding you meant, De Blair, was you don't like when I say this. Let's come to some type of understanding where we can have some type of solution and resolution. And when you do that, and as men, when we walk away in a place of peace, then that helps our peace of mind. And honestly, if our peace of mind and our mental health is better, the entire relationship is going to be better.
Absolutely. That was some amazing, amazing feedback. So much appreciated. Renee, do you have any closing comments, or please provide us with some closing comments? Yes.
So when you say closing comments, you mean like what I've taken?
Yeah, just any closing comments. We're closing out, so I'm just letting you provide feedback.
I know from what I heard today and what I heard over the weekend, it seems like from the men, for myself in my relationships with men that I deal with professionally and my personal relationship, I noticed that I have done a lot of listening to debate. I'm a huge, hard-headed, stubborn person, so I always have an opinion about everything. And like Red said, a thing that I could take from the season, what all of you men said was just sit back and just, everything doesn't deserve a comment. Everything doesn't deserve a response. Sometimes it just deserves an ear for you to listen, to hear, to feel what they're saying and try to understand where they're coming from. And sometimes if you don't understand, maybe then once they finish expressing themselves, like you said, this is what I heard you say. Did I hear that correctly? Tell me if I interpret it wrong so that way I can understand better what you said. Don't just assume that someone said something this way and they really didn't, because you might not have heard it correctly. But yeah, just sit back, listen, and try to figure out a way that you both can communicate effectively. Because ultimately, I don't want to shut down and transfer my pain or trauma and stuff onto you because I know you're dealing with a lot. So I feel like as women, we probably just need to internally analyze what we're going through and get help so that way we can be a better partner to you guys and understand what triggers us with certain things that you do when you're trying to communicate to us to where we don't transfer that towards each other.
Absolutely. That was very well stated. So, first of all, I want to say thank you to every single person that joined on. Guys, you are so respected, and that is why you're on this platform. We want to know how we can be better women, better wives, even better mothers that's raising little boys, right? We do also want to make sure that we are acknowledging where we can improve because it's all about personal development, because that's all about wellness and mental health as well. When you have a happy home, you excel in life on a whole different level. So this right here is a very intricate part of us getting to that point. So please continue. Yeah, please
I
continue.
don't.
Go ahead, Kareem.
I don't think Nafis went.
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
You went, Nafis? When you went?
Thank you for having his back, though. He went though.
I thought. Hold up. When did Nafis go?
He went before Red.
Oh man, I need to go to sleep.
It's all good. It's all good. It is late, but again,
I've been up since 4:30.
oh, it's okay. Again, this conversation will continue on this platform. This conversation will continue, and we want you guys to please help us be better. We're asking for that. We want to be better women. We want to be better wives in this. We just want to make sure that our Black men are protected and they feel supported. So, with that initiative, we're asking you guys not to shut down on us. Have grace, have patience. Please continue the conversations with your daughters. Please continue the conversations in your workplace, right? These need to be normalized conversations. So, if you guys are not following these guys, if you guys are not following Renee, please get with them, follow them, ask conversations, DM me. What topics do you want to have with this? What conversations? We're going to do Trap Talk every Wednesday. What do you guys want to talk about? Right? There's so much more that we have in store. And just stay tuned for the live version of this conversation because we're taking it back to the streets. We're taking it back to the streets. So stay tuned for that Mental Health Awareness Month. We are going to be live and in full effect. So to the audience that tuned in, you guys are much appreciated. Thank you for sharing your insight. Thank you for being so passionate about this conversation that you're providing insight for other people because you have a voice and what you can say will help the next person. Love you guys so much. Have a great night. God bless. And please, if you don't do anything else, make good choices. All right? Have a good night.
Good job. Good job.